I don't know what we can talk about in this nation without talking about white superiority, honestly.
Who defines the meaning of God also defines the relationship between economy and God.
African Americans spent $1.3 trillion last year, making us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. Why have we not turned those riches into wealth to develop our community?
Peace, family. Taki.
Well, listen, I'm just ready to kind of get it kick started. I know we got some folks been here for a while waiting, to see us and waiting to see brother Kaba Kamene do his thing. Peace, everyone. Welcome to another exciting edition of HAPI Talks. Before we get started, though, we have a couple exciting announcements, to talk to the family about. We have a really good show tonight.
Kaba was already getting it in the black room. He called it the black room. It's not the green room, the black room, and he was already getting it in. So this is going to be a excellent HAPI Talks.
No. Definitely looking forward to it. Let's take the sense out of the effing nonsense. And it's so important because I think as black folks, sometimes we need a kick, where to get us started. So shout out to my brother Kumbi, everybody else in the building. I see brother King Simon in the chat.
Okay.
Definitely shout out to King Simon, everyone else. Brother Eric is in the house, definitely want to see that. But yeah, I see Wendy there. But heck, we want to keep them waiting too long, so we'll get right into these exciting announcements. But the family, we've been doing really good with the push for 40,000 on YouTube. We're only about 5K away from that. Thank you so much for those who are recent subscribers. Anyone who's still kind of on the fence, just hit the subscribe button and notification button and come right on into the happy world. So we're excited to have you guys. Definitely, as we were making this announcement, that the film is such an exciting announcement that HAPI is on Amazon. For those people who have not seen it, right now it's a great time. You don't have to go any place. You don't have to rent anything. You can go right to Amazon, $1.99, buy it, rent it, whatever like that. See it. It'd be really helpful. Even if you've seen it already, definitely tell a friend to tell a friend and help get the word out with that. As always, if you're not following us on all the platforms, X, Facebook, I'm about to say Twitter, YouTube, and IG, yeah, please take this opportunity to do so. Shout out to our great elder there, John Henry Staples.
Yeah, let me tell you,
around for a long time.
Yep, when he's on, we about to have a good show. Because anytime Mr. Staples, gets on with us, that means this is gonna be a good show. Yep.
Yes, shout out to Mr. Staples down there in Tampa, Florida. All right. So, all right, Fees, listen, let's go ahead and tell them what we have in store for them.
So, since we came back from Kemet a couple of weeks ago, and we're going back. We are going back. Let me tell you, we've had such an outpouring of support, and people just wanting to know, how can they get down right here. November 2nd to the 9th, we are going back to Kemet.
Yes. And to be honest with you, there was no plans to do this, but there've been so many people that have been reaching out. People have been in the inboxes and emails and signing up for the newsletters, asking about, reserving their spaces and things of that nature. So it's like, people keep asking, so we can go ahead and put something together. But family, here's the thing: being that it's backed by popular demand, it's going to be a small group of people. So if you're interested in doing it, you got to sign up right away. Hurry up and register, AkhetTours.com, and just go ahead and just get down with it, because after the space fills up, that's going to be it. We're not going to have large groups like we normally do. It's going to be a very small and kind of intimate group of people. So if you're really strongly considering it, please do not hesitate.
Yeah, don't hesitate. And I know, listen, let's just keep it real. You guys were looking at them pictures we've been posting. And listen, we had such a good time. It was really, I love going to Egypt. And I think, that's a part of it, like just seeing, seeing your heritage, seeing your history, but it's also the people that come with you that also make it really special. And we've had a lot of good people come with Akhet tours over the years, and that's a just another added bonus when you're traveling. So right here,
That's the thing, and that's the HAPI motto is the unity, is the togetherness, is the family structure. So I think for us, that feeds into our experiences when we're abroad. So people tend to kind of lean towards that when they speak of their experiences in Kemet with Akhet tours and with HAPI. So definitely look for a family vibe and a togetherness and a closeness, which kind of for us is our marker. So definitely look forward to this experience in November, and hope all you can kind of be a part of it.
Yeah. And Taki, this is for so I mean, listen, I'm looking in the chat, and there's a lot of people who traveled with us over the years. I see Dave's in the house, Kumbai, Tika, Wendy, Eric. And so, so they know the story. But just for those that don't know, we're just going to have just a quick conversation. I just want to just kind of just put this all in context so you guys know who you're traveling with, because a lot of times, there's a lot of people, taking trips to Egypt, and we ain't knocking nobody, because the more, quite honestly, the more Black people that can get to Egypt, that's what's up. So, and everybody has a certain thing that they do. And so a lot of times people don't necessarily know like how long you've been doing this. So let's just start from the beginning quickly before my man Kaba comes on. So when did you actually start Akhet Tours?
1999.
Okay. So in 1999, you were just like, oh, I just want to start a little travel group, and I'm going to, so how did that happen?
No, we don't. And you know what? We're going to have to probably do something a little bit later on that's really going to kind of capture this information. But essentially, one of the things that motivated me to start putting these pilgrimages together was the first time I went to Egypt in 99, I didn't see any non-Indigenous Black folks. And that kind of disturbed me. There was Black people there, but, that were, the Nubians and Upper Egyptians, things like that. But I didn't see any like Black Americans or very few Americans, Black folks from Europe or so forth. So I was like, well, what is it? Like, why aren't we going? What is the lack of impetus around us getting there? So I said, maybe people just don't know. Some people have the idea that it's too far, it's too this, it's too that, it's all these many too things. So I wanted to kind of make it seem easy for them. Like, listen, it's not that far. It's only 10 hours. It's not that far. When you think of 10 hours in the grand scheme of things, that's a work day. It's only 10 hours. Yeah. It's not that expensive. It's not all these things when you put it in context in terms of how long, like right now, it's April, we're talking about November. The price for a double is $42.99, but when you think in terms of like stretching it out for 6 months, it doesn't become that much. So all these things where it became too big, my idea was to kind of make it small for them and like it's doable. And that was the thing, to make it doable and make it accessible. So it just started kind of like just putting it together, and started very small and intimate, and it's kind of grown throughout the years.
Yeah, I put some, I took the liberty to take some pictures off your Facebook page and show them. So now, okay, so you were just like, you want to do this, you want to share your experience. And so, you started off there, that's Dr. J. So you was rolling with Dr. J.
So they were, this is interesting because I'm going to go back to the picture for a second, just to give this some context. This is my oldest daughter here, Nandi, and she's turning 20 this year. So that's pretty much right now. We're in Luxor at Hatshepsut's temple, and Dr. J, Mama J, others, they were trying to travel with us throughout the years, back and forth to the Nile. So this is, just put in the context in terms of where she was being a baby at that time. She's 20 now. So yeah, this picture is actually 20 years old because it was 2004. When we went that year.
But you had been traveling before.
Oh, no, absolutely. Definitely. So like I said, 1999 is 2004, and this is 2010, February.
All right. So, and family, a lot of times, listen, if you guys know Brother Taki, he's a very modest dude, right? And yeah, exactly, Kumbi. Wow, I'm gonna put that up there, okay? Because even you just think about 20 something years ago, you were a young guy, just getting in this game.
Still a young guy.
Wait, what'd you say?
Still a young guy.
Well, anyway, so this is really impressive that you were just able to to put this together and to do it.
Yeah, so definitely this is over here since 2006. See Dr. J there again.
Yeah, Dr. J, okay.
And there were a lot of people now, a lot of the kids have grown up, and that's the thing. This is Camille Yarborough. They're standing next to Dr. J.
So you have a little experience in this, because I think the other time, I think the other piece is that we want you guys to feel really good about who you're traveling with, and Taki has lots of experience. Okay, this is just
no, definitely, and definitely shout out to everyone, like I said, Dr. J and all the elders who've been a part of this, and those people who've taken the opportunity to travel and the trust, because it's a tremendous amount of trust that kind of goes into this as well. And I definitely want to thank those who've taken, the trust and throughout the years. And this Infudishi with us. I believe this is my
Infudishi with hair. That's with his locks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just these, like I said, these are kind of some old throwback flicks. But yeah. And this is here from 2001.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at you. You look like a baby.
That's from 2001. So this is like one of the old pictures. Yeah. So
since you've been doing this, how many? What's been the challenges in terms of just running this tour company, running Akhet tours?
A lot of times, just what's going on, sometimes around the globe. A lot of times, that's always been a huge challenge, trying to make people feel comfortable. Trying to educate Black people with the reasons why they should go, because this is the important thing. When you go to Kemet, you'll see all these other people on an island over what you've done, over our legacy. And if we don't take a stance or make a proclamation that we understand who our ancestors were and we are a part of that culture, then it'll be erased. So it's definitely something wherein we've had some great experiences there, and we look forward to having even more.
Yeah, and so we're gonna roll through these quickly, because I see Johnny just can't wait for Kaba to come on. But this right here, so now
this actually leads into the discussion. We talk about stopping let's take the sense out of the effing nonsense. A lot of times we kind of figure out ways how to do that. Like, what does that mean? And the important thing is that we understand that our history and our education and our culture is such a pivotal part to that. And for us to learn that, and as we look at the pyramid, I'm just going to tie it up with this. We talk about the pyramid analysis a lot of times. And at the top of that pyramid, we have our culture, which is our deep values. We have our politics and our economics. In our community, we don't have problems with the politics and economics to a degree. What we're lacking is our culture and our deep values, which comes from our history and learning that. So it's very important that we don't go no further. Let's go back, keep it there. We look at this pyramid and analyze it in a way that's critical. We need critical, analysis of this to really understand that this is the important part of what we are missing as a community. So once we have that and we tie it into our economics and our politics, we will be okay. So learning our history is essential, and taking this, the sense out of the effing nonsense is all about this.
100%.
So we're definitely going to bring, the brother Kaba on, and we were kind of backstage talking. And one of the things that amazed me, because as we're going to go into this discussion with Professor Kaba Hiawatha Kamene, one of the important things is to talk about his new book, Before Melanin. And the question that was asked was how many books he wrote. He's the author of 8 books. Even though he's a worldwide educator, and he's been educating people for almost about 50 years. So I'm excited on all levels as well. So from the smallest child to the oldest. So this is going to be a powerful discussion, and we're looking forward to having it.
Yeah, 100%.
So I just want to go ahead. I just wanted to you can go to the next picture. I just want to just kind of reiterate November 2nd to the 9th, AkhetTours.com, we're going to be talking about this, not just shows. And for those people who are interested, definitely sign up and be a part of the experience.
Right there. Because listen, we don't have, guys, we can't even if you don't get in the original number that we have, we can't even like squeeze you in. We had to put you in our luggage or something. So it's like, if you want to go, you gotta get on there. There's Brother Jamar, and shout out to Brother Jamar Milton, because I tell you, all I do is repost. He documented every single thing in Egypt for us. And there's my man, Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Fee. So we're gonna go ahead and I know people have been kind of waiting to see Kaba, and we're gonna definitely a lot of these pictures here. This is from the most recent pilgrimage. I love this pic there. They can definitely go ahead and go to our social media pages and check out all those and they could be a part of the experience, or come to Keepin and be a part of the experience in November.
Yeah, and and also, family, I just want to just add this on, is that there's a lot of people who come back, right? That keep coming back. And as I was putting together pictures, it's like I had a hard time. This is my first time going on this trip. I had a hard time finding a picture that didn't have David Murphy in it. David Murphy has been on every trip since. Look, every time I start putting up pictures, I was like, and there's a Sar Imhotep. But Dave Murphy been traveling with us for a minute. Yeah, Queen Esther. And this is when you brought back Professor
Dr. J and Mama J.
Yeah, Infudishi's been rolling. So yes, family, right there. You want to you head to Akhet Tours. David Murphy again. And Dave Murphy have the nerve to have on HAPI gear on every picture. That's what's up.
Yeah.
And just a little side note, it seems like we're like 2 for 2 in terms of breaking out new conscious hip hop artists. We have Eric on there, and we have Jamar Milton. Just saying, right there. All right, family, and that's the last one. So listen, make sure AkhetTours.com. It's $300 for a deposit. And you can, you can get started. And the weather will be great in November. Yes, Sean. Yes.
Oh, my man, Sean Edwards. Shout out to Sean. He was there with us a couple months ago.
Yep.
Also as well.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
So here it is, family. Without any further ado, we're going to bring up Professor Kaba Hiawatha Kamene to discuss our topic tonight, taking a sense out of the Effn nonsense. Peace, my brother Hotep. How are you doing today, sir?
Peace to you, my brother Taki, and to my sister Felicia. It is a pleasure. It is an honor to be with you. And it's just been quite a situation going on. I think about when I first went to Kemet in 1983. I was with Dr. Ben. And I remember Dr. Ben had us come to the church up on 145th Street where they used to have the First World Alliance.
Yes.
And Dr. Ben looked out into the audience, and Dr. Ben said, there's only one thing I'd like to say. I'd like to say a lot of things, but there's one thing I want you to remember. He said, I don't want you to blame me for the person who's going to come back. Because if you've never been in Kemet before, the person that's going to come back is not the person that's sitting in the church right now.
Oh my God, that is so true.
My sister, I never realized how true that was until I came back, and I realized on how many dimensions Dr. Ben was on target, because I have a webinar that I did and a lesson plan that I did where I teach the hands that built the pyramids built the White House. And the research that has been done. So the value of going to Kemet, we can go back into the past and we can enjoy it and we can be inspired by it. But what you're going to do with it when you come back?
Absolutely.
This lesson plan, the hands that built the pyramids, built the White House, was meant to show that there was a time in history where there were brothers and sisters from the East Coast that traveled west. There's a book that's titled The Paths of the Nile. it's in French. It's called Le Chemin du Nil, and I bought it in French, and I had to translate it to understand the migrations of Africans. You see, for us as a people, we don't understand that when we ruled the world, the river systems were all connected. So the river systems of Hapi were connected to, let's say, the Limpopo and the Orange River of the South. It was connected to the Congo River. It was connected to the Senegal River. It was connected to a major river known as Taman Rasset River, which was up in North Africa. So Africans were moving around the continent for thousands of years. See, we got to cut loose. We have to take the sense out the effing nonsense. In other words.
That's what I'm like. I love that.
Okay, we have to get to that point where we start to define for ourselves who we were as a people before we were so rudely interrupted by these cave people. Not realizing that we were traveling back and forth. There's evidence of West Africa in East Africa. Because a lot of us get caught up in the fact that it was Africans that left the East Coast and traveled west and bequeathed to Africans in West Africa culture. But they were already coming in contact with cultured Africans in Nigeria, in Ghana, in the places where we think there were no types of civilization. When brothers and sisters in a place known as Eredu, Eredo in Nigeria, okay, when the pyramids were being built, 2880 BC, if you want to be that shallow, because they are much older, but beside that, when they were building pyramids in East Africa, they were building things in Nigeria. And it's important that we understand that there were movements of Africans that took their knowledge and wisdom from East Africa and traveled through Central Africa and over to West Africa, in North Africa, in South Africa. And so the hands that built the pyramids built the White House. Here in New York, Black folk built Broadway. They built Wall Street. They built the Liberty area in Philadelphia. They built the South. The plantations, the houses of the plantations were built by Black people who were their own masons. And so that we have to understand, when you go back to Kemet, it's like a slingshot. When you have a slingshot, you put a projectile in the sling and you pull it back. But the purpose of you pulling it back is not to stay back. It's to project in front of you. So the same is true for our history. Absolutely. The further back you can go, the further in front of you can project your consciousness. So we have to understand why you're going back to Kemet, why you're going back to Hapi. You're going back so you can project yourself into the future of our planet. Not just to go back there, not just to celebrate the Meru or the pyramids, and it's not to build more pyramids in the United States. Our ancestors did it quite well back then. We don't have to do that again, but take that genius that built the pyramids and build up South Central Bronx, build up Brooklyn, build up Detroit, build up California, build up Arkansas, build up Tuskegee.
Brother Kaba, I tell you, go ahead, Felicia, she's about to say something.
No, wait, on that note, I'm going to excuse myself from this conversation and I'm going to let you brothers talk, because I tell you one thing, I love this hearing brothers talk. I love seeing Black men just talk and chat with each other. So I'm going to remove myself from this. I will be backstage, Kaba, and see you before you roll out. But thank you so much. And family, I think everybody should put a number in the chat right now to see how many times Kaba says taking the effing sense out of nonsense. Let's everybody put a little wager on now, because I think it's going to be like 10 times. I don't know, but I'm just saying, put your number in the chat. And I will be backstage. Love you, Kaba.
Peace, my sister.
Peace.
And family, before we go any further, please like, comment, and share the video. It's very important. I know it's kind of late. A lot of folks may not be on right now, but let's help get the word out to people. Like, comment, and share. Also, if you want to go ahead and show your love, your happy love and support, we got the Cash App going, the PayPal. But as I was saying, Brother Kaba, as we looked into the migration of people, you know, that was really what inspired me to do HAPI, was the migration of Africans. When I looked at the migration between East and West and East Africa, that was the impetus for that, you know, for the project. And looking at things like the cultural confluences between the culture, the African cultures, and how they inspired one another was a tremendous thing. Even the advent of Nile Valley culture itself, in the sense of the creation of Sahara Desert and people migrating towards the river valley during that period, and creating high culture and civilization from that. So such an important part of just noting history, just how we moved back and forth to throughout the continent and shared that information, even, you know, just dealing with each other in trade and other things that we were really getting into, and kind of sets the stage for, again, the economic landscape of Africa. So very, very important that you mentioned that.
Absolutely, brother. And, you know, and the key is science. You know, we're talking about my newest book, Carbon Before Melanin. But, you know, my thing has been, as I've gone through the system, educational system, having been a teacher in the New York City Board of Ed since 1979 to 2009, 31 years, 3 months and 15 days. One of the things I came to realize working with children is that their minds work, children's minds work very scientific, because they're connecting neurons in their brain. These are things I've learned as an educator as I've moved through the process. And when we connect neurons in the brain, the only way that those neurons can stay connected is if there is something that they can connect to, which is knowledge and wisdom and what we call science. Science comes from the word scient, which means knowledge and wisdom. We've put science, see, this is how we have to do this ourselves, family. We have to take the sense out the effing nonsense. Because we're experiencing something right now, family, that is phenomenal. I was once told by Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael, the closer you get to God, the closer the devil gonna get to you.
Facts on facts. Yes, sir.
So when we see what's happening today, be it politics or spirituality or labor or education, whatever it is, they're coming down hard. And they're coming down hard because they know their time is up. They've been given 500 years to get this civilization together. And once again, they failed. Every time they try to build a civilization over the past, what I have studied, basically the past, I would say, let's go back to 525 BC with the Indo-European Persians that came into Kemet. Every time they have tried to build a civilization, it hasn't lasted more than 500 years. It failed. And it failed for the same reason. And it failed because of our brothers and sisters in the Black Panther Party, of which I was a cub when I was young. They said something very important, and it's what every civilization is built on. All power belongs to the people. And when you have a select few who think they're all that, they begin to develop a civilization that shines on them as opposed to shining on the masses of the people, so that everybody can rise. And yeah, you're going to have some people going to hustle. They're going to work harder. They may have more than what some of the people have, but ain't nobody going to bed hungry. Nobody's going to bed wondering if they have a roof over their head or if they have clothing for the proper type of environment. Nobody's going to bed unsafe for fear of what may happen to them. When you have that, here, let me ask you a question. And you'll know if this civilization is growing and getting better. Are you paying more for your food today than you did back then? And the key is, this civilization is failing. It's failing the people. It's up to us as the people to do what's necessary. Dr. Clark told us we ain't got no friends. Even some folk that look like us ain't our friends. So we have got to understand what we have to do as a people to make this happen and to grow and to do what's necessary. Science is the key. Science, knowledge, and wisdom that connects the neurons in the brain, the nerves, but it got to be connected to something that makes sense to you. And so what our children are experiencing in the classrooms today, they're not connecting with what they know to be knowledge and wisdom. When someone tells a perfect lie, the truth is unbelievable. This is where we are as a civilization right now. We're looking at each other, knowing everybody lying, but we just getting along to go along. We are not taking the sense out the effing nonsense.
So, Brother Kaba, you just actually opened the door for something, because we're going to have a real powerful, rich discussion tonight. We'll talk about so many different things. But one of the really important things I want to discuss with you is about this new book I'm hearing all about. I'm hearing a lot of good feedback about it, Carbon Before Melanin. And I really want to kind of get into, one, what inspired you to write the book. Let's just start there. There we go. We're going to put the book cover up in a second so everybody can see it. But we definitely want to talk. I love the cover. I want to just get into just delve. I see you got the shirt on also, Before Melanin shirt. I see you got the gear on. So first things first, where can they get this book?
Well, you can go to my website, www.kabakamene.com.
Okay.
You can go to the link in my bio.
Okay.
If you are outside of the United States, I would recommend that you go to Amazon. It's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon as well?
Yes.
Okay. So let's get back to that question. What inspired you to write the book?
What inspired me in a very early sense was Dr. Frances Cress Welsing in the 70s. But the thing is that she wasn't at that presentation to talk about melanin. She mentioned it. And I remember her mentioning it. But because it wasn't the theme of her particular presentation, she actually was doing a presentation on something she said was a major disease that was about to come on to the world scene that we now know is called HIV and AIDS. That's what she came to talk about this disease that was about to come. She was talking about that in the 70s. She mentioned melanin. Now, in 1981, with all praise to those who created the First World Alliance, 1981, they invited Dr. Richard D. King to come talk to us one Saturday. And he was talking about melanin. And when he started talking, and that was the theme of his conversation, so he was focused on that. So he noticed in the group that, let me just admit I didn't know too much about what he was saying. He said, okay, brothers and sisters, let me put it to you like this. If you can understand plant photosynthesis, then you can understand human photosynthesis, because chlorophyll is to the plant as melanin is to the human. The chloroplast, which is the chlorophyllin cell, is to the plant what the melanocyte, which is the melanin cell, is to the human. Now, right there, Brother Taki, that just immediately, because I was a kindergarten teacher at the time. And so when he said that, when I went back to that was a Saturday. When I went back to class on Monday with my kindergarten students, I said, you know something? I'm going to do a series on plant photosynthesis, because I had that Saturday, I had bought the Black Dot 1 and Black Dot 2, which was in Xerox form in the back of the church of First World Alliance where they had their presentation. But I put that away because that was heavy for me. I just zipped through that. I said, wait a minute, I got to put this aside. I got to get some more information on this. So I started plant photosynthesis with my students. And what I did was, in the back of my mind, I knew I was going to make a comparison once I went through the plant photosynthesis. So we got the milk cartons, and I came in and I brought some dirt and some seeds, and we did our little plant photosynthesis, and we put our creations that we had done on the windowsill. And then after I had mastered from another perspective plant photosynthesis, then is when I went to Black Dot 1 and Black Dot 2. This was before. Black Dot 1 and Black Dot 2 is now 2 chapters in Dr. King's book, The African Origins of Biological Psychiatry. As I went through, I was exposed to the work of people such as Professor Carol Barnes, who wrote Melanin, the Chemical Key to Black Greatness. I was exposed to other great scholars, because you see, Frammy, they're not going to teach you this. Understand that. And don't take it personal. Because if I was them, I wouldn't teach this to us either. This is the key to Black greatness. This is the key to rap music, to hip hop, to bebop. This is the key that opens the door to your genius. Each and every one of you has a genius that you were born with. You were born to give this to us as a people. Every one of us has a divine gift. And when you find that divine gift, you automatically create loyalty to your people, but first to yourself. You love yourself. And when you love yourself and you have loyalty to yourself, you love your people, and then you have loyalty to your people, that's when you become sovereign. And that is when you're able, if I may say, to take the sense out the effing nonsense. Because it's nonsense. And so, in my book, I have a book list. And it's a book list that includes Dr. T. Owens Moore, who's written 3 books. His last book is called Pigment Power. It is, of course, The African Origins of Biological Psychiatry. Man, God, and Civilization by John G. Jackson. This is part of the book. The Chemical Key to Black Greatness. What Makes Black People Black by our brother, Dr. Ancestor, Laila Africa. Okay. And now the other thing is, you really don't want to lose our sister, who has done phenomenal work with us. And that sister has written a book that is so powerful as it relates to understanding who we are as a people. She's a phenomenal sister. And I have her in my libation in the beginning of the book, Dr. Patricia Newton. She wrote a book called A Handbook for a Melanated, Melatonin-Friendly Lifestyle. Okay, so I have these people, and and the other thing about my book, family, is that here's the key. One of the keys to why it's called Carbon Before Melanin. I was going to Dr. Sebi since 1988. When I heard that brother had been released, claimed that he had cured people of AIDS and all sorts of different diseases and diabetes and high blood pressure. When I found out that he got exonerated was October 1st, 1988 in the Amsterdam News. That's a Black newspaper in New York City. I was on the bus reading that, and right there on that bus, going home, I decided I got to know this man. So that Saturday, which would have been October 4th, 1988, I went to his place on 616 Pacific Street. You know where Barclays Center is? That's where his center was, his institute.
Wow.
Okay. And so I went to him, and we created a relationship. I'd like to call it a friendship, but I would not assume. But I believe the way in which he interacted with me and how I interacted with him, we were respectful of each other's talents. And so I invited him to come to a presentation I was doing in Brooklyn on melanin. And he came, and then, when I went back to the Institute, I was sitting there. And for those of you who know what the Institute looked like, it was a beautiful place, and he'd set up very peaceful. I said, well, Dr. Sebi, what do you think about my presentation about melanin? And he said, Booker T. That was my name before Kaba. He said, Booker T, you're always talking about melanin. It's carbon before melanin. To understand melanin, you got to understand carbon. And at that point, I started to do some research, because I always pay respect to people such as Dr. Sebi and all the scholars that I list in the book, because when I did my study, I came to realize what he was talking about. And that you basically have 4 major atoms on the planet. You have others, but 4 major ones. You have oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, and carbon. You can put 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen together, and you have H2O, which is water. You can put 2 parts hydrogen, 2 parts oxygen together, and you have hydrogen peroxide. But with hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen, you can put no more than 4 atoms together to create a molecule. But with the introduction of carbon, that's where you get the millions, if not billions, of molecules that make up our cosmic reality, specifically our Earth. Carbon. That's what carbon before melanin means. And that's what Dr. Sebi meant when he said carbon before melanin. And it took a while for my research to come through to study what is carbon. Now, I know many times we have challenges understanding the difference because we have what's called a periodic table of elements, of which I include in the book. A periodic table of elements, we basically have 92, but then we have a whole bunch of others that were created in the laboratory that they say. But what's the difference between an atom and an element? Because you have a carbon atom, but you also have the carbon on the element as an element. So what I teach is, let me take you to an ice cream store. And I'm going to clear up. I'm going to take the sense out the Effn nonsense. An atom is a flavor. An element is the actual scoop of that flavor. So an atom really is a title, but an element is the flesh coming out of the word. So you have the element, which is like the flavor. So you have the element carbon, which reflects back the carbon atom, but carbon is 666, which is 6 hydrogen atoms. And when you take multiple scoops of ice cream and put it on a cone, that becomes a molecule. So an atom is the flavor, an element is the actual scoop of the flavor, and the molecule is when you assemble a number of elements or atoms onto your molecule itself. Straight science.
Straight science.
Nothing personal. We're not emotional. See, the other thing is, in the book, I include something known as Punnett Square. Punnett Square is something that I taught basically in the 5th grade. You teach it in life history, which is like biology, zoology, things like that. And Punnett Square, see, we're not talking about, see, what has happened in the Western world is because of their insecurity, their deep sense of inferiority that Dr. Frances Cress Welsing talks about, you know, when she speaks, you know, of genetic annihilation. And their understanding that they're working themselves off of the life system, they create words like superior and inferior, good and bad, better or worse. But in science, you don't talk like that. Science says in Punnett Square, you have dominant and recessive genes.
I remember studying that in school.
Okay. You remember Punnett Square?
Absolutely. Remember
You had the big
that in
B
science
and the
class.
little b.
In science, I remember doing it.
Big B was dominant, little b was recessive. Well, in the book, I have a Punnett Square where I'm actually showing you what it looks like, where you have varying people. And the more you can produce melanin, the more dominant you are. And your inability or your lack of being able to produce melanin makes you recessive. But the other thing to realize, again, is that you don't want to get caught up because so many of us come in many different shades of melanin. So what I do in the book is I go through every section of the body, from the respiratory system. Without melanin in your respiratory system, you couldn't breathe. You've got it in your eyes. Without it in your eyes, in your retina, you wouldn't be able to see. Without it in your ears, you couldn't hear. When you go deep inside your ear your inner ear, without melanin in your inner ear, floating those hairs in melanin, you would fall down. You would not have balance, because that's where balance comes from. It's a place called your vestibular cochlea in your inner ear, which you have balance. Without it in your circulatory system, your blood wouldn't flow. Without it in your heart, it wouldn't beat. Without it in your brain, you couldn't think. And without it in your reproductive system, you wouldn't be born. Melanin is the mothership. And it is something that we need to understand from a perspective of science, not emotion.
So I have a couple of quick questions, if I can. One, first come to mind, just want to say thank you. And again, family, KabaKamene.com. Please go get your copy of this book now. Let's not wait. Get a copy of this book now. As Professor Kaba Hiawatha Kamene was saying, this is pure science. This is not emotion. This is just science of the universe, science of who we are, science of our creator, all the sciences and every information that we need. We want to make sure we go out and support this and get this right away. One of the things I want to ask you, and I'm sure some people online and in the audience is probably thinking the same thing. So we need melanin to do all the things that you just listed. So is it safe to say that those who have a lack of melanin have some melanin in them?
Everybody has melanin. And everybody is born in blackness. You see, the skin is only one aspect. It's part of what's called the integumentary system. Fingernails, toenails, your skin, everything on the outside is called it's part of your system known as the integumentary system. That is your skin. It's the largest organ on your body. All humans have melanin. There is only one race on the planet. I'm talking science now. There's no white race. There's no yellow race. There's only one race, and that's the human race. And it was born, first it was conceived, it was born, nurtured, sustained, educated, technologized, civilized in Africa. And when Africans got their show together, Dr. Clark say, then they took it on the road and they peopled the planet. And it was the short-statured people known as the Twa Mbuti, Khoisan people, that were the first family that came out of the Homo sapiens sapiens stage. When you go to Central and Southern Africa, particularly Central Africa, you have the Twa Mbuti, you have the Hutu people, and you have the Tutsi people. Now, to show you how long humans have been on the planet, you got the Twa people that are sometimes 3'8". They're giants of 5'2". Then you have the Hutu people who are basically in the 5 foot area that goes up a little above 6 feet. And then you got the Tutsi people. Those are your Wilt Chamberlains. Those are your Kareem Abdul-Jabbars. Those are them 8 foot brothers and sisters. So how could, and the Tutsi people came from the Twa people. Back in the day, the Tutsi people, out of respect for their Twa people, they used to enter the hut, the house, on their knees backwards. In Kemet, you know that the Twa people were considered to be the gods, the Neteru. That is who Bes is. Bes is the representation of the Twa people. And so it becomes important that we understand even Kush Kemet must thank the Twa people, the Khoisan people of Southern Africa, for all that they have received. So when a person from Ireland marries somebody from Jamaica, that's not an interracial marriage. That's an intraracial marriage. It's an intercultural marriage. So as we go through the book, as we go through our studies, knowledge, and I know we want to accuse him of being.
I'm sorry. We can't gloss over that. We got to come back to that, what you just said. Because I'm sure that kind of went over a lot of people, and I just wanted to make sure we capture that information there. Brother Kaba, and I apologize for that. You said it's not an interracial marriage. What did you call it? No, it's
not inter, because inter means there's more than one. Inter means that the Jamaican belongs to a race, the Irish belong to a race. They don't. They belong to the same race, the human race.
And what's the word that you use? What did you call it?
Intra,
Intra.
which means
Okay.
within the race, but it's intercultural. Because Irish is a culture, Jamaican is a culture. It is intercultural, but it's intra-racial. Because there's only one race on the planet. Everybody, be you Palestinian, or if you are indigenous American, Japanese, Slovakian, Ghanaian, you all belong to Africa. That's where life started. That's where life came from. Science.
You know, on that note, I have a couple of questions. Oh, before I get into that question, I want to kind of go back for a second, talking about that conversation with our ancestor, Dr. Sebi, when he made the comment to you about, I love the way you kind of took us back to that moment of before there was melanin, there was carbon. When he made that comment or that question or that statement to you, did you get it right away? It was something that you caught it. Was it like a aha moment, or was something you had to kind of think about and ponder on for a moment?
Oh, I had to do my research.
Okay.
Okay. It wasn't something that, you know, because whenever anybody drops something on me that I may not have thought about or maybe thought differently about, before I say anything to anybody about anything, I do my research.
Okay.
And when I remember when Dr. Sebi said that to me.
And let's just kind of say it over for those folks who maybe have just coming into the building. We want to just kind of just take them back in terms of giving you the understanding of the name for the book, Carbon Before Melanin, and how that came about.
You talking about with Dr. Sebi?
Yes.
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 Well, you know, I had developed a relationship with Dr. Sebi. And again, going back to Dr. Richard King, remember, I had already been doing research on melanin since like 1981, 1982. So by the time I met him, maybe 6 years later, I had already created a curriculum that I taught. That's also in the book, because I put the curriculum as section 2 in the book to help us understand how do you teach this to children. You know, because you just can't teach it like that. You got to take it in steps, but you have to understand it first. So section 1 is an overview and a development and introduction to the many aspects to understand: the sun, the plants, the skin, neuromelanin, which is the first melanin. Everybody's born in black, Brother Taki. Everybody's born when your daddy's spermatozoon, singular for spermatozoa, which is plural, fertilized your mommy's egg. It became a zygote. Then through mitosis, it began to multiply. When it multiplied, it became a blastula, blastula. I'm a teacher, got to spell. Became a blastula. When it became a blastula, it was in 3 sections. You had the endoderm, the mesoderm was in the middle, and the ectoderm was on the inside. Okay, my bad. The endoderm was on the inside. The second layer around that was the mesoderm, and then the ectoderm was outside of that. The ectoderm, within 28 hours of the fetus being, let's say, conceived, it turns in the ectoderm, the outer turns in on itself, and that creates, and again, the book will explain it in more detail. I'm just going to break it to you so that you can understand it. That is where your brain, your spinal cord, your organs, your glands, your gastrointestinal tract, they're all born in that blackness. And then that's when the blastula attaches itself to mother's body and then starts the 10 months, because it's not 9 months, it's 10 months, 40 weeks of what we call ontogeny, 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 which is the 10 months of gestation of the fetus. Born in blackness, everybody born in black. I don't care who you are, where you are. I don't care what your cultural background is. You are born in blackness. You are black. The human family go from dark black to less black. The terms are not complexion or color. You don't have color. You don't have complexion. You have pigmentation or melanation. There's no such thing as light skin, dark skin. That don't exist. It's a matter of degree of how you produce in your melanocyte. And again, Brother Taki, I try to break this down so that we can understand this, okay? Because of the insecurity of the peoples who would wish to dominate the world. They don't want us to understand this. Because if you understood the greatness of who you are,
if you're taking the sense out of effing nonsense.
That's it. Take the sense out the effing nonsense. Okay, when someone tells a lie, the truth is unbelievable. The human family is much older than what they claim. The human family has achieved far more than what they claim. And the family that achieved it were all melanated people with kinky, nappy hair, wide nose, thick lip. The European, as we know him and her today, is no older than 8,000 years old. The Asian is even younger than that. And there's chapters in the book where I'm taking us through the process of understanding how the human family came into existence and how did we lose our pigmentation. I have a section on nappy, kinky hair. What makes hair nappy and kinky? When did it turn straight? And it's something that we have to understand as a people. We have to understand the role that it plays in all of our body system. Excretory system that purges, digestives. And you know, the other interesting thing is that many of our body systems come in pairs. Like your circulatory and your respiratory is a pair. Your sensory system and your central nervous system is a pair. There is a relationship. Your muscular system and your skeletal system is a pair. Your hormonal system and your reproductive system are a pair, but they all work together to make all of the systems of the body work together. And what fuels it, what makes it happen, is melanin.
Melanin. So, Dr. Sebi, carbon for melanin. We were about to touch on that experience in terms of just going through the process of him giving you the name and what that was like for you in processing his profound statement to you.
Yeah, it was just because I had such a respect for Dr. Sebi because he breaks stuff down real simple. And I always have a profound respect. And when I have a sense, even if I don't respect you, if you say something that I need to study, I'll study. But with Dr. Sebi, when he said, Booker T, you're always talking about melanin. But it was carbon before melanin. I said to myself, well, how could carbon become melanin? And then I realized the role that carbon plays on the earth. Everything that we call organic, everything that is living has assimilated carbon. And that's what makes it a living thing. When you sat back in your chair, that was carbon made you do that. But it came through your skeletal and your muscular system that did it when you backed up and sat back. But that was the melanin in your skeletal system and in your muscular system that allowed you to sit back. If you did not have melanin in your skeletal system or your melanin or in your muscular system, you couldn't have leaned forward like you just did just now. If I didn't have it in my tongue, I wouldn't be able to talk. I wouldn't be able to taste foods. It's what helps you understand the sweet. It's what helps you distinguish between sweet, sour, bitter. It's what makes you hear.
You know, this also brings me to my next question. As you mentioned that, is there a subtitle to the book? And if so, what is it? What does it mean?
Well, it's a double entendre. It has two meanings: creators on Earth.
Creators on Earth. So it's it's carbon before melanin. Creators on Earth. That's the full title. Okay.
Which the creators on earth is really creator is on earth. And creators on earth is each and every one of us is the creator having a human experience, and we're on earth to create a heaven on earth and not the hell that's been created for us, because we're too busy accepting the effing nonsense and not understanding the sense.
Damn, I tell you. You know, and family, listen, let me give you a little context of the name of the show. The brother Kaba and I, we've had several conversations. A lot of times I get on the phone with the brother, and it's such a powerful, beautiful conversations and discussions. And we talked about this, and we had a couple other ones, and we playing with it. We didn't want. Then I came back to him. Didn't want to sound so edgy. Then we kind of went back and forth a little bit again, and we came up with this. And it's just like, I didn't know it was going to fit this way. I didn't know it was going to make this type of sense in terms of what we're talking about today. But everything that Professor Kaba has laid out to us is really, it hit homes with taking a sense out of that for nonsense. And family, with that being said, KabaKamene.com. We just kind of barely just touched the surface of what's in this masterpiece. You got to go ahead and get a copy of this book. Please tell your friends and your families also to make sure they get a copy of this book and support this great elder and his great works. As you can see, it's just pure science, and we're going to go ahead and take the emotion out of it. So, Professor Kaba, when we talk about, and I think some of these things, you know, the atoms and the molecules, and again, why melanin is so important. You really, really laid it out for us in terms of where and why this information is vital just to our overall existence. And again, taking that slingshot, because when we speak about, you know, ancient Kemet, but going back to the atoms, taking it back even further, going back to the carbons, going back even further, so we can see where we're going. You know, could you just go ahead and touch on just some of the research that went into it for you to come about this great work?
Well, I have to say, this has been years of study. All of the books that I have produced. First, William Leo Hansberry, who is subtitled The Architect of the African Studies Program in America. He was the first person in 1923 to produce 3 classes on Africa in any accredited college. Dr. Clark had recommended that I write my master's thesis on William Leo Hansberry. He said, look, you should study him, because what you're doing, what I do is curricular writing, and I do staff development. In other words, I develop what it is that should be taught, such as carbon and melanin, develop a curricula, and then I go and I teach it to teachers who will take it into their classroom. Okay. Whenever we as an African people embark on something, we always embark on it on a level that we include our ancestors. And I felt that before I started writing my books, I was going to do an intellectual libation. And that intellectual libation took both of my master's thesis, the one in history and the one in education administration, and I combined it in honoring this great man, Professor William Leo Hansberry. If you're into Black studies, if you've developed a Black studies program and you don't know who William Leo Hansberry is, it's like thinking you know your family and you don't know who your great-granddaddy is or your great-grandmama, okay? You don't know your family if you can't go back that far. You just know your present family. But you don't know the grounding. Everybody, either indirectly or directly, even in parts of Africa, in Europe, that teaches African history, has been impacted by this great man, Professor William Leo Hansberry, uncle to the great writer Lorraine Hansberry. The second book I wrote was Spirituality Before Religions, because the book I wanted to write was Shabaka Stone. But Shabaka Stone was a book that I was first introduced to by George G.M. James. My mother really gave me a Xerox copy before it was reproduced in '76 on Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James. And when you get to page 139 to 151, he has a chapter titled The Memphite Theology. And that chapter just blew my mind because I was interested in astronomy. And so when I read that, I said, I have to write a book on that. But before I wrote Shabaka Stone, I wrote Spirituality Before Religion. Spirituality is unseen science, and science is seen spirituality. So that our community, Brother Taki, and to my sister Felicia, and to the family that's with us tonight, could understand what I was about to tell them in Shabaka Stone. Because I felt that there were things that needed to be expressed in the writings of our ancestors, in the Memphite theology, in the pyramid text, in the coffin text, the book of the coming forth today by night, the Aten text, and Shabaka Stone. There were things needed to be said. I needed to back them up. You know, like when you take a course in algebra, you take pre-algebra. When you take a writing class, sometimes you take a pre-writing. It's like a prerequisite to understand what you're actually going to experience when you take the class, which was Shabaka Stone. But then I was so impacted by it, I said, if this is what Shabaka Stone did to me when I was in my 20s, imagine if I could get it to the children. And so I wrote a book, Shabaka Stone for Children. And what's wonderful about this is that I give credit to Michael Markman, and my son Heru Neset, and my sister Kashe, and my wife Shari. She did the cover art. She did a lot of different things. Now, I also do artwork. So on the back, I have a picture because I carved it on leather.
Wait a minute. So we gotta hold on for just a quick second. Yeah, man.
I told you we was going to take the sense out the effing nonsense. Bro.
Yeah, man. So wait. First thing, that book, because a lot of people probably want to get that book for their children. Where's it available? On your website as well?
Yes, it's on my all my books are on my website. All of my books are in the link in my bio on Instagram. And if you're out of the country, I recommend that you get it from Amazon because the price that would cost for me to send it to you is more than the book itself.
Right. And that particular book, what age group is it for?
This book is written so that parents can read it to a child of any age. But if you want, but you see, the thing about some adults have told me that they really appreciate the book because it's all visual. I took some of the words, but I created visuals for our people to be able to understand the genius of our people and how they were able to take this. But you see, I have to take today's world that we're living in and then break it down into visuals that I know of today. For instance, you know, the idea of all the males were frogs and all the females were snakes, cobras, Irta, and the frogs were male. But why frogs being male? What does a frog do? What does it represent in nature? And then you ask yourself, well, why did we have to dissect a frog in biology class? And then what you understand is that the frog's central nervous system is identical to the human nervous system. And what the frog represents is human metamorphosis. It goes through basically 16 weeks from a tadpole, and then it begins to grow out of the tadpole into a frog. And the last 2 weeks, it loses its tail. And that's how we came into existence, because we all have a tail. It's a coccyx tail. We sit on it all the time. It's called a coccyx bone. Why were the females snakes? Well, snakes do something frequently during a year. It's called molting, where they shed their skin. And when they shed their skin, snakes will go and segregate themselves away from just activity, and a film comes over their eyes, almost like they're in a state of death. And what will happen is that during this molting period, underneath the old skin that's becoming crusty, a new skin is born. And when the snake knows it's time to come forward out of its moments of a sleepless slumber, it wiggles across a very rough area like a rock. and it will cut open the skin. And as it cuts open the skin, the snake continues. It leaves the old skin behind, but it comes forward with a new skin, and the film is removed from their eyes. And so the snake represents resurrection. And so the two mysteries of life come from metamorphosis, which is growth, and resurrection, which is regrowth after the dead skin. After this body is taken out, it comes forward to a new life. And that's resurrection. And every religion is based on the resurrection of the soul. That's the one thing that unites all religions, no matter what you believe in. You think about what you should do in life in order to be able to relive it in the next world. And that's what the Shabaka stone was saying.
Right.
But I had to break it down in a way that our community could understand. So spirituality preceded Shabaka stone. But now I took the principles of Shabaka stone and I brought it down so that we have creators on earth. Because I just take you out into the heavens. Just look up in the heavens.
Each book is like a continuation of the next, in a sense.
That's every one of them. That's what my plan was. See, because I'm living on a 7-year plan. I see that you put up the number 7. I'm a 7 person. And so in 2014 was when I decided I was going to write 3 books. 2014, I see that our brother King Simon is on, so he knows numbers. 2014 is 7. And I said by the year 2023, I wanted to complete this cycle of my books. And I did. But I produced more books than I expected. That's why I produced Carbon Before Melanin March 12th, 2024. This past March 12th is when so Carbon Before Melanin has been out a little over a month now.
So one quick thing, just because I want to make sure everyone is with us and they're following along. And could you hold up the book again, Shabaka Stone for Children?
Yeah.
And as you hold it up, could you just give us a brief explanation of what the Shabaka Stone is for the family members that do not know, not aware of what it is?
This is what I said on the back of the book. Somewhere around 710 years before the Common Era, BCE, Neset Biti Pharaoh Shabaka directed his scientists and scholars to rewrite the work of their ancestors, titled the Memphite Theology. This ancient creation story was written on either papyrus or leather and had been damaged by time and climate. King Shabaka had the Memphite theology carved on black basalt stone, and the story tells a metaphoric drama that outlined the coming into being and continuing process of the becoming of the cosmic universe. They enhanced this process by comparing and contrasting the pattern in all living things in the cosmos and on the earth. The ancient African scholars who studied and taught biology made comparisons to the development of the divine human embryo, and other scholars in different subject areas made the same comparisons with this cosmic allegory.
So that bust out stela that they put it on, where is it today? People will go see
British
it.
Museum, the British Museum. I did a presentation when I visited UK. I did a presentation standing in front of Shabaka Stone. It's basically 3'8" feet by 4'8" feet, which basically is like 1.3 yards by 1.6 yards in size, rectangle.
Right.
And it has 2 lines that go across the top, and it has 62 vertical lines that go down. You can Google it, you'll see it.
And it's all about creation.
It's all about creation. Hey man, let me tell you, let me just take you out. Each and every one of us who is living where it's nighttime right now, where there is no sun within our presence, just look up in the heavens. And what do you see? You see illuminating stars in blackness. But what are those illuminating stars? Dr. Richard King teaches us that they are the result of what's called nanodiamonds. Nano in front of a word means 1/billionth of anything. Nanodiamonds, really tiny little things that are forced in on itself. They forced in. I'm talking about you're up in the heavens now. They're forced in. The black matter is pushed in by dark energy, because everything is melanin. But one is energy. There we go. That's Shabaka stone there. You have dark energy. You have dark matter. There is this dark matter that's being pushed in on itself. And when there is no more space in that being pushed in, it implodes. And that is the birth of a star. Stars are crystallized blackness.
Right.
Just like diamonds are crystallized blackness. That's what diamonds are. Diamonds is blackness, coal, being pushed in under the earth so tight, so hard, that it transforms and crystallizes into a diamond. Black folk have been put under pressure these past 400, if not more years, by the Ma'afa. Pushed in. We are diamonds in the rough. We are blackness that's been put under pressure. And it's time that we rise.
You know, Brother Kaba, you just had the perfect segue for another topic I wanted to get into tonight. There's so much going on around the world today. And before we move on, family, please make sure you go ahead and get a copy of this book, KabaKamene.com, Carbon and Before Melanin. The creators, let me say the subtitle again.
The creators on Earth.
The creators on Earth. Carbon Before Melanin, the creators on Earth. All right, creators on Earth. Got to go ahead and get a copy of this book, KabaKamene.com. But you just made something about Black folks being put under pressure. And, you know, we have the situation right now going on in Haiti and elsewhere, you know, around the globe. But that's such a hot spot right now. We've had Professor Smalls, Ezele Danto, to your recommendation. Thank you so much for that, suggesting our beautiful sister come on HAPI Talks and discuss that with us, as well as Professor Bayana Bello, who's always a part of the HAPI family. We love her so much. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on what's going on right now and how you feel about it and how we can rise up out of that situation.
The first thing that I do when it deals with Haiti, I see them as a beacon for our future. Our brothers and sisters in Haiti, I got nothing but love, respect. I honor them for what they have had to go through and what they have done. They are a beacon for us. When we get to the point where we take the sense out the effing nonsense, we then become Haiti, and we will say, "Sec passe." Okay, that's the bottom line to me. When we get to that point, you see, we haven't gotten to that point yet. It's the story about the brother, you know, like he visited his friend, and there was a dog at his friend's feet. Okay, and the dog was hooping and hollering. Okay, and the man looked at the dog and looked at his friend, and the friend was just keep on talking, didn't say nothing. And the dog was howling and just, obviously thought was in pain. And so the guy looked a little closer and he said, "Oh, wait, look at that. The dog is laying on a plank of nails. He's bleeding." And he said to his friend, he said, "Yo, your dog is laying on a plank of nails." And his friend said, "Yeah, I know. When he gets tired of laying on the nails, he'll get up." So my point is, when we gonna get up off this plank of nails? We can do all the complaining we want. We can do all the talk about what should be done. It ain't gonna be done unless you do it. It ain't gonna be done unless you support HAPIFILM. It's not gonna happen unless you support the scholars like James Smalls. Okay, no scholar has to tell you they need finances. They need finances. That's what helped them do what they do. I watched Dr. Ben Nobody should have to go through what Dr. Ben went through for what he did for us.
Facts.
As you take brothers and sisters to Kemet, remember what Dr. Ben did. Dr. Ben did this for years. This brother was talking about he couldn't even get into the hotel. He had to sleep with the crocodiles on the banks of HAPI sometime. Dr. Ben broke all the rules. I was first introduced as a young man to Dr. Ben through Dr. Clark. I've been in Dr. Clark's house when Dr. Ben, John G. Jackson, and Chancellor Williams was in the house.
My God, are you serious? Chancellor Williams was there too?
Chancellor, I was a young brother. And I shut my mouth. This is why I think that Dr. Clark appreciated me, because I didn't get up in them elders' business.
Right.
If Dr. Clark told me to rearrange something, I just rearranged it. I wasn't getting in their conversation, but I listened to every word they were saying. In the presence of God's on earth, brother Taki. Chancellor Williams and Dr. Clark were very good friends.
Really?
John G. Jackson and Dr. Ben. Dr. Ben used to call Dr. Clark Bubba. That was his nickname for Dr. Clark, Bubba.
Damn. That's such a powerful experience. And, I always point to Chancellor Williams as being, for me, the turning point of my life. Destruction of Black Civilization. Reading that book in junior high school is what set me on this path.
Okay.
One of the major contributors to the path that we were on, the conversations we're having now. So whenever I hear that name, it's always a pleasure. And for you to have been in the company of those giants has had to be tremendous.
Oh,
so,
wow. I worked with Dr. Chancellor Williams in 1984. That was the year of the first ASCAC conference. He got the Lifetime Achievement Award from ASCAC in 1984. And I was working with him, and also I was doing my research on Professor Hansberry because he was a student of Professor Hansberry. Wow. Chancellor Williams was something else. He was no nonsense.
So you mentioned, I love that metaphor about the hollering dog and just hollering and not getting up and moving and doing anything about it. Or again, as we were saying, taking the sense out of the effing nonsense. When we think of Haiti and what's going on, what are some of the things that can be done to get us out of that situation? I mean, is the UN involved in this? Is the US involved? Like, what's going on down there from your perspective?
It is, for me, from my perspective, the first thing is to recognize the greatness of the people of Haiti. And then go to people like Dr. Bello and to Zili Danto and find out how we can support what it is that they're doing. What's the best way that we can do that? Because everybody, from the earthquakes on, everybody's trying to make money on Haiti.
Yes.
And so the first thing that we have to do is recognize Haiti is one of the things that I focus on, particularly with Haiti, is their economic system. And since HAPIFILM deals with economics, you and I spoke about it. The society that came about in Haiti. Okay, let me step back. I'm going to stick a pin there for a minute, and I'm going to explain how I taught government and governance to children. You have to break up the difference between a political system and an economic system. So I draw a box and I put a cross in between so that there's 4 sections.
Like a Punnett Square.
Like Punnett Square. On one side, I have the political system, and on the other side, I have the economic system. Okay. The political system is democracy. Okay. Demokratia, which means people power. Republica means for the people. And neither of them groups do that. Okay, so let's take the sense out the effing nonsense here. And just realize this. A democracy is where the people have the power. And the economic system that we have today is called capitalism. The political system is democracy. The economic system is capitalism. Then you have the political system that's called communism. And the economic system is socialism. Now let's take some sense out of this effing nonsense here. Haiti developed a democratic socialist state run by the people for the people, which is socialism, means society, social. Okay, but when the Indo-European got a sense of it, or the European got a sense of it, they broke it up in ridiculous terms. Communism means community. How could that be bad? And when you look at Russia and China, they're not communist. They live just like the so-called capitalists economically. Everybody on top making all that money.
Facts.
Okay, so they're not
oligarchs and the rich Chinese billionaires. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So they're nonsense. But what Africans did in Haiti is they broke that and they created a democratic, for the people, socialism where the wealth, see, economy does not mean money. Economy comes from the Greek word oikos, O-I-K-O-S, and that means community or home. And nomi is basically to know your wealth. Your wealth is the land. Your wealth will always be the land. And so economy means to know the land. And so what they set up was a natural basis for an economic system that served the people. So 25% of what you, let's say 100%, how much you make for a year. I mean, the other day was when we had to pay the taxes. Okay. So the way you paid taxes in Haiti was 25% of everything that you made, you keep. It's yours. 25% of what you made goes to the government, which takes care of your education. It takes care of your medical needs. It takes care of everything that you need in your life. Sanitation, everything. But 50% goes into business, your business. So if you were a mason, 50% of your money went back into your masonry. If you were a teacher, 50% went back into your teaching. If you were a farmer, 50% went back into your farms. If you were a doctor, 50% went back. It didn't go to somebody else for them to give your money away to somebody that's friends with them. And so what they developed was a system where farmers did better, doctors did better, dentists did better. Whatever you were doing, 50% of your wealth went back to your business. You could not necessarily account and put that in your 25% of your personal wealth. But you didn't want to, because that helped you get a better business to make more financial wealth, which went back to your 25%. That's what Haiti gave to us. They were the first true democracy. In fact, quite frankly, they're the only democracy that ever existed. And that's why they treat the people of Haiti the way they do, because they know that when you get to a point where you ain't going to take no more nonsense, you're going to take the sense out, the effing nonsense, and you're going to get up off that plank of nails that you've been laying on and bleeding all these years. You're going to do something for yourself and for your people. Because when you find your divine gift, you have loyalty to yourself. When you have loyalty to yourself, you then are sovereign. You don't need to fill out no papers for sovereignty. You were born sovereign. Just claim your sovereignty. I am a creator on earth.
Wow. You know, Professor Kaba, when I think about the first true and only, as you say, democratic state, Haiti, one of the things that first come to mind is the brother Jean-Jacques Dessalines, not only being a military genius, but also being a genius in many other ways. Should he be looked upon as a hero to the extended Black family and not just the people of Haiti? And how should we embrace him in Black history and Black culture? Because it seems like he's not a figure that's known well enough to Black people throughout the diaspora.
Nebu Afrika. That's a term given to me by my brother Baba Heru. Nebu Afrika. Nebu means all.
Uh-huh.
All. Yes. Okay. Af is the flesh, the organic carbon that creates the flesh. Ra is the light and heat energy from the sun. And Ka is the spirit. Many people call it Pan-African. I don't use Pan-African. Baba Heru instructs us that that's a Roman term. Pan meaning all. So I'm taking the sense out the F and nonsense, and I'm changing the way in which I even look at how I would look at Dessalines, or to Toussaint, or to Don Pedro Albizu Campos from Puerto Rico, or Marcus Garvey from Jamaica, or Booker T. Washington, or W.E.B. Du Bois. We are all one people. Let's stop this effing nonsense by separating ourselves. Dessalines, Jean-Jacques was a genius. Shaka Zulu, Bambata, they're my family. Kwame Nkrumah is my family. I don't distinguish family. We got to stop this. We got to stop fighting amongst ourselves. Everywhere that I trace our history going back to Kemet, during the 5th and 6th dynasty in Kemet, we got too cute with ourselves. And we began to fight amongst each other. And when we fought against each other, we allowed the Haibris to come across. Haibri means, in the Kemetic language, the ones who crossed over. There's a book, Kemet and the African Worldview. Read the chapter by Yosef Ben Levi on this subject. This was the, in fact, this book came from the presentations that were done at the first ASCAC conference that Dr. Chancellor Williams received the award. And so, you know, we have to move away from fighting ourselves. When we started fighting amongst ourselves, we let people slip in to Kemet. When you look at the Moors at the end in 1492, Bo Abdil actually was fighting with his own family. When you look at the Punic Wars, you know, and the great warrior that came out of that, they were fighting amongst ourselves. Between Tunis, the government of Tunis would not support the brother that took the Africans across the Alps on an elephant. And they stranded him there. And then he was overcome. And that's what allowed the other folk, the Numidians from Morocco, who were being mistreated by the Carthaginians. The Numidians sided with the Romans, and it was that coming together of African Numidians with the Romans that defeated the Carthaginians in the Punic Wars. We're fighting amongst ourselves. On the plantation, we're fighting amongst ourselves. Right now, we're fighting amongst ourselves. We're fighting about who created the zoot suit and rap music. What kind of nonsense is this? How long are we going to be fighting each other while other people take advantage with our division? They divide us and they conquer us. So nobody gets ahead. Because they know once we come together, Nebu Afrika, it's over. The game is up.
And that's why I'm happy we call it power and unity.
It's the only way to go forward.
It's the only way to go forward.
And that first starts with self-love.
Self-love. You know, Brother Kaba, this kind of, again, as we kind of move on in this discussion, fighting amongst ourselves. And this is something, a topic that can be a little, I guess for some people, kind of touchy when we talk about our communities and some of the issues that we have currently going on, and like some of our urban centers like New York City, Chicago, and other places where we have this influx of migrants into those communities, or what they call them migrants. And we can use probably a little more elegant language when we discuss this. But a lot of Black people feel like the resources are being absorbed by these groups, and we're kind of fighting for, I guess, our place. And I know it's something that, again, is very touchy for some people, but I wanted to know if you had any commentary on that, and what are some of the things that we can do as a Black community to maintain our presence.
I understand the personal aspect of it, and I understand what has happened, and I understand how they're playing with us. I understand the games that they're playing with us. I understand what they're attempting to do. But my bottom line is that had we listened to Marcus Garvey, had we listened to Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King, we would not be worried about these individuals, because we would have our own place in this society. I heard you in the beginning when Brother James Smalls was talking about this, that the African people in America are the 16th richest nation on the planet.
Yes.
We need to aggregate. We got Claude Anderson.
Yes, we do.
George Frazier.
We do.
Karen Hunter and other people. They done dropped how we need to get our economy together. We're still laying on the plaque of nails.
Yes.
We got to get up. We're letting other things come into play with us, where I know what they're doing. They're playing a game with us. They're going to give. They just passed all these billions of dollars they're going to give to everybody else in the world, and they're talking about we don't deserve reparations.
Yeah. In fact, the New York City Assembly just passed another bill for the migrants, for the refuge, what they call them, asylum seekers.
Well,
so,
if I was an asylum seeker, I'd be real happy right now. The bottom line is they're not doing anything wrong. We're being played to fight each other, to always keep us in survival mode. Family, we got to do this ourselves. They're not going to help us because they know we built this country. The reason why everybody's coming here is because of Black people.
Facts.
That's the bottom line. They talking about immigrants built this. Immigrants didn't build this country. First of all, they came in and stole the land from Black people, who are the indigenous people. Okay? They stole the land, and then they went into Africa and stole people and brought them here to work the land. We built the house on the land and halfway furnished it. And then in 1870, they started bringing people from Europe over in order to finish furnishing the house that now America stands. They did not build the house. Black folk built the house. They just happened to furnish part of the rooms. That's just history. So I don't want to hear they built this. We built the economic system. It was built, and Europe was built on the Caribbean and Central and South America. And even there it was on Black people. So England owes Jamaica and Trinidad and Barbados some money. They're going to have to cut a check. France owes Haiti, Martinique, St. Lucia. The same way that Britain owes Kenya and Nigeria, the English-speaking African countries. They're going to have to cut a check. But I got news for you. They're falling. They ain't got no check to cut. So when all is said and done, if somebody owe you money and all of a sudden you find out they bankrupt, what you going to do? You've been saying all this time they owe you money, but if they ain't got the money, what you going to do? We going to get reparations. There's no question. The question is not if, it's when. But the other point is, in the interim, are we just going to sit here and wait for them to give us a check, or are we going to claim our greatness right now?
Yeah. You know, wow, you really put it into context for us. And, you know, we got to stop hollering, get the hell up off that board of nails and start making moves. And I know a lot of people are upset, and I guess you say rightfully so, because they're playing us with a lot of these situations that are going on. But it's time for us to get up and start moving around and doing some things for ourselves and really, really taking back control of our destinies. And like you said, listen to the people that's been laying it out for us, because people have been laying it out for the past 100 years, back from, you know, Marcus Garvey. Before that, people have just been laying it out. So
Absolutely.
We really have no excuse.
And please, can I just add something else? When I was in college in the 70s, my minor was in Caribbean studies with a focus on revolution. A lot of the reasons why people from Guatemala and El Salvador are coming to America is because of what America did to them back in those days. They put puppets in power.
Oh yeah, they love doing that.
In South America, they put their people in place, and they made the people, the everyday people, poorer while they paid off certain people. And so the reason why so many people are coming up here now is because of the conditions that were created for them back then. The other thing is to keep in mind the people that are coming up here now were the original inhabitants of the land before they were pushed south by the European, particularly the Spaniards. But let me just also say something else, because I realize that what I'm saying doesn't sit right with people, but I'm trying to take the sense out the effing nonsense. I'm trying to help us understand what it is that we have to do as a people if we're going to move ahead. Those forces of oppression wish to keep us in survival mode. Because as long as you're in survival mode, you'll never be in thrival mode. Because once you can take care of your basic needs, you start to thrive. But when you start to thrive, then you're no longer surviving, which means that you can bring into power the things that you want to do to make things happen. So it's their business, those who would wish to oppress us, to keep us in survival mode. So we're worried about paying the rent, putting food on our table. Because if you ever got to the point where you never had to worry about clothing and food and shelter, then you'd be able to start to create things. But as long as you're in survival mode, you stay stuck in the present as opposed to being able to plan for the future. I know, because when I was the teacher, they wasn't paying me much. I had to pay late fee on my rent every month with a wife and 3 children, 2 children sometimes, even before that. I had to wait until the 16th of the month to pay the rent because all the bills were due in the beginning. So what my first check did was pretty much paid a lot of the bills. But the check I got on the 16th is what paid the rent, but I had to pay the rent on the 10th. So every month, for years, Brother Taki, Sister Felicia, and family. And I'm not speaking alone. You all do the same thing.
Absolutely. We can relate.
My mama used to say to rob from Peter to pay Paul.
My mother said the same thing.
Okay. And as long as you're kept in those conditions, you can't thrive. So then you have side hustles. Hopefully legal. But how are you going to pay the rent? How are you going to put food to feed your babies? You do what you got to do. And that's what this society is based on. Because then they put you in prison and then they make money on you there. Not to mention they sell your organs.
Yeah, they make a lot of money on you there. They love doing that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's why I tell brothers, I say, if for no other reason you don't want to go to prison, when you go to the hospital because you get sick, they're going to take out an organ or 2. This is the system.
Keeping us oppressed, keeping us in survival mode.
That's
so
right. You can't thrive.
Solutions. We have the situations in our communities, the lack of resources, and kind of fighting for what little bit of crumbs that are there. Outside of what we've been taught by our great, ancestor scholars, our scholar warriors, what are some of the things that we can do right now to combat some of this and to really kind of deal with it? Because politically, it seems like our politicians are literally selling us down the river. Mayor Adams here in New York, the brother in Chicago, it seems like they're not on the side of the Black community. So what are some of the things that Black people can do here on the political landscape to kind of deal with some of these issues?
Well, first we got to realize they can't help you. The system ain't set up to help you. If Khalid Muhammad were to be amongst us today and was the mayor of New York City, he could not help you. It's the system. This is what Dr. Jeffries means when he talks about a systems analysis.
Yes, systems analysis.
That's what I did in education. I'm the spook who sat by the classroom door. I watched how the system worked. Then I studied our history. And I studied the solution of how they built the societies that they built, while I was watching the realities of the Board of Miseducation The first step, Brother Taki, is to look into, I'm going to give you a homework assignment. Everybody got a homework assignment. This is the homework assignment that Dr. Clark gave me when I met him when I was 12 and a half. He said he wanted me to go into the bathroom and look in the mirror and tell the person I was looking at, I love you. And mean it. Because he said, if you can't do that, there ain't nothing anybody else can do for you. To this day, I still do that. And sometimes I even get beside myself by throwing kisses at me. You got to love yourself. And this is what Carbon Before Melanin assists us in doing. To understand why your hair is nappy. Why is it kinky? From a scientific perspective, what makes your hair kinky and straight? And then think of Malcolm when he said, who taught you to hate the texture of your hair, the color of your skin, or the melanation of your skin? He said color of your skin. Who taught you to hate your nose and your lips? Who taught you? You didn't learn that in Africa. Who taught you to do that? And then you come to realize your real greatness. You really understand what it is that you've been gifted with, and how deathly afraid they are that they love you. That's why they want to take that young brother who was wrestling and they had to cut his locks off. Because when they saw that brother with them locks, the first thing that came to their mind was Samson. Because that's the story of Samson and his locks. That's why sisters had to pass a crown act to be able to wear their hair the way it was born on their head. You got to love yourself. You have to appreciate all that you've been through and all that your ancestors been through. You have to understand your divine gift. You have to read and study the equation X equals 2 to the N.
Hey, Brother Kaba, just please kind of go back for a second and talk about that Crown Act. Give us a little history on that. When, how, why, and the players that were involved.
Well, you know, just to look at it in general, that when sisters in particular, but brothers too, let their hair be what it was when it came out their scalp. In other words, they didn't do anything special to it. They didn't straighten it, or they didn't do things to it that was not what it was born to be. That is a threat. The same way your complexion is a threat. When you let your hair do what it do, that's a threat. And when they see that, they're scared of you. They're already scared of you. But let your hair go off kink, grow braids, locks, that frightens them. So they don't want you in courtrooms with that. They don't want you celebrating your blackness. They want to be able to see you subservient to them, want to be like them. So that, and again, listen, I don't judge people. People straighten their hair. People that do what they do what they do. Much respect. I'm not judging. But the bottom line is, and in the book, I talk about what makes hair nappy and kinky. And it's an oily substance in your sebaceous gland that's called sebum, S-E-B-U-M. And as it moves along your hair follicle and it rests on your head in a very hot climate, it protects your scalp from the harmful rays of the sun. And at the same time, it creates a kink, an elliptical kink in your hair. And it creates a crown that protects your head from the harmful rays of the sun. And when you go up into the northern area where the sun is not hot, and then you get into an ice age where there is none at all, that oil that is produced is allowed to hang onto your hair. And what it does, see, kinky hair is flat. The follicle itself is flat. When you get into the cold climate and that oil is allowed to stay on your hair, it rounds it. And when it rounds it, it makes it come down. And that's what creates straight hair. And then what do we call very straight hair? We call it dead straight, because hair is a protein. Hair is part of you. The reason why you don't feel it is because of the blood circulation, that you can cut your hair when it gets too long and you don't feel the pain. But if you were to cut that hair follicle in your scalp, it would hurt. because it's living. And those kinks, that nap, are antennas to the cosmos. Like antennas on a radio. You want to listen to a radio? You pull the antenna up. You can even change channels. But we don't know that. So we want to look like other people who they say got good hair. So we straighten our hair. And in so doing, you kill it. You kill the power of your hair. I'm just telling you science. It's just like when you burn your skin, the skin comes off. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. You know that, when you burn yourself bad enough, it coils up and the skin will fall off. Well, the same is true for your hair. When you straighten your hair, you put heat to it. That's why a lot of people that straighten their hair, eventually, sometimes your hair will fall out. It's just the way it is. But when they got you doing that against yourself, and at the same time, they'll do everything to make their hair look like yours. They'll put all sorts of stuff up in their lips to make it look like yours. They'll make all sorts of situations and make your nose, when you out there in the warm weather, your nose is going to flare. It's going to open up. It's going to be thick. It's going to be big to breathe up all that wonderful oxygen from the plants that are growing from the light, heat, and sound energy of the sun. So you have a wide nose, a wide, beautiful nose to breathe up all that wonderful oxygen. Those are all gifts. When we got into the cold climate, in order for the cold not to come up and freeze our nasal passages and go down into our lungs, our noses had to become aquiline and thinner. That's not to say I know African people been in the sun all their life and their nose are aquiline. I'm just saying that when you go up into the ice, that's one of the things that will change the shape of your nose. There are three laws: Glosier's law, Allen's law, and Bergman's law. And they all have to do with, one of them deals with your melanation, one of them deals with your body mass, and the other deals with your limb length. Those are all scientific laws. And it all has to do with you being in a warm climate, a medium climate, or a very cold climate. It's not personal. I'm not talking superiority or inferiority. I'm talking about dominant and recessive. And the more you inbreed as a recessive, the more recessive you become. The more dominant you breed with dominant, the more dominant you become. I'm talking science. This ain't personal.
Right. And as we kind of get into this was here, and I just want to kind of close out where we begun, and talk about your book once again, and where folks can get a copy of it. Carbon Before Melanin, Creators on Earth, and family. This is probably one of my, in terms of HAPI Talks, the most enjoyable, one of the most informative. There's been so many, and I probably can't even say that, but definitely stands up there in terms of like kind of all time. So please like, share, comment, leave the comments. Definitely help with the algorithms. Like, share it. Very super important. I know a lot of people have been throwing up the comments in the chat. We appreciate you. We appreciate everyone. The Cash App, PayPal, love, and everything, the love donations that you guys are pouring. It means so much because it helps us continue with a lot of the work that we're doing. The meme we saw, Felicia's going to put it back up, about Kemet, the Origins of Civilization tour we have in November 2nd to the 9th, was created by this brother, Mike Drake. He does a lot of the artwork for us, and we utilize a lot of times the Cash Apps that you guys send to kind of help put up, create some of the content that we have here on HAPI Talks. So definitely shout out to everyone who's been a part of this, and family. This is definitely, what we're doing here is creating this ecosystem of Blackness, and it kind of just funnels around to different things. And even when we do our events, we have the economics to help out with the speakers and the places, things like that. So everything that we do it kind of keeps going within this circle. So again, we appreciate the love and support. And Brother Kaba, you have any final words before we let you go this evening?
I say this to us, but I specifically say this to our children. It's going to get better. Those who wish to oppress hope that the hopeful feel hopeless. At the same time, always remember that when you stand at the door of hope, you're at success, but you're also at failure. Hope is going to be determined by what you do when you get up off this plank of nails and decide that you're going to do something. Our children are ready. I've been around them long enough. I spent years, 47 years teaching them from 1977. And I still today visit classrooms talking to children. They're ready. Every time a child walks into my classroom, that child is telling me, I'm going to give you another chance to tell me the truth. To take it. Honestly, let's get the sense out the effing nonsense, Brother Kaba.
Yes.
Let us understand what we have to do. I want us to understand that Dr. King was correct. He said that he was able to look over and he saw the promised land. He said he may not get there with us because he knew that 24 hours from when he said that, he wouldn't be with us. But he said, I want you to know tonight, this night, that I'm still with you, that we as a people are going to make it to the promised land. And I just want us to live our lives realizing this. All is not for naught. Our ancestors didn't do what they did to leave us like this. So no matter who's not giving us what we deserve, recognition for what we should be recognized for, finances that we have put into this country we're not getting back, no matter what they do, we've got to do something. But the first step is self-love.
Self-love. Look in that mirror.
And say,
and mean
I love you, and mean it.
And mean it. Yes, and mean it. So as we look at this flyer here, I understand that you are actually on your way to Kemet. When is that, brother?
That trip is from June 16th to June 26th.
June 16th to June 26th with the brother Axel Omega.
Yeah, Axel. Yeah, if anybody would like more information, go to ancestorswork@gmail.com. ANCESTORSWORK@gmail.com. And I have created a curriculum for this trip. Everybody that goes on the trip is going to get a PDF copy. I'm co-hosting it. I'll be teaching classes in the evening, and Axel will be taking us on the tour as we go through the process. I'm looking forward. It's been since 1987. I haven't been back to Kemet.
That was my question. Since 87. That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, 83 and 87. I went to the ASCAC Nubian conference.
The big one.
About 1,000 of us were there.
Yeah, I actually have some of that footage, and at some point I'm going to share it with the family here on HAPI Talks. Some of the footage was given from people that were actually on that trip, on that conference, and people will get a chance to see it. We've been kind of actually got to get it digitized, but working on that, and hopefully share that with the family soon. So
as you say that, I can give honor and much praise to our brother Reverend Clemson Brown.
Yes.
Who is now our ancestor.
Yes.
He is the precursor to all that we do as it relates to this. Transatlantic Productions.
Yes. We I remember he came with us a few times up to Boston. We did our trips back in 2011, and he documented those experiences for us, and definitely someone who's tremendously missed. Shout out to his family and everyone there, and definitely give him much honor and praise, Brother Clemson Brown.
Brother Taki, the only way that we can really and truly honor him is for you and Sister Felicia to continue doing what you're doing, because you're continuing in his work. And like we sing do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, the second do is like the first do, it's just at a higher octave. And so the work you're doing is taking us to the next octave. of what he attempted to do. He did the best he could with what he had.
Yes, he did. He did an excellent job at it too.
And he bequeathed to us that energy and that power. And that brother didn't do what he did for us just to be left like this.
Right. And just
So
to give the family some
your work.
background. When you go into his house, it would be just tapes and tapes all the way around.
Yeah.
His whole living room area was like a museum of a treasure trove of the history.
And he was an artist too, because he used to do sculptures.
Really?
He had a lot of sculptures in his house. A lot of the artwork, when you go into his house, you would think that he bought that from somewhere. No, he did that. He went to CCNY and majored in art. Clemson Brown. He gave me my first video cassette player, because he used to, he used to tape everything that I did. Wherever it was slave theater, wherever I would do a presentation, he was there. And one day we were on 125th Street, and he asked me, he said, "What do you think about the video cassette, that you did on Ethiopia?" And I said, "Well, brother, I ain't seen it." He said, "Why ain't you see it?" I said, "Because I don't have a video cassette machine." He said, "You don't have a video cassette with all the things that you do? What do you do with the video cassettes?" I said, "I just put them away until I can get one." He said, "Man, stop." And he went into the back of his car, the van, and he gave me my first video cassette.
Your first VCR.
My first VCR.
What year was this?
Oh man, you're going back, man. You're going back to like maybe 1993, 94, 95, somewhere in there. My first VCR to watch the presentations I did. I had never seen myself before. See, but when people got you in survival mode, you can't thrive. And that's where we come from. We come from a place where we had to do a lot of different things to make it happen for a family, for my family. And I never made my family suffer economically for what I would have liked to have done professionally.
Right.
So I just got my hustle on, and I did different things that were able to bring a little bit of extra money into the family. We all do it, family. I'm not speaking like I know we do this. We all do this. And the only way that your trips can be successful is if people support you, even if they're not going on a trip.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, please comment, like, and share. We'll start talking about it tomorrow. But the family does a good job, and we love the HAPI family, and they definitely show the love and support. We just, continue to bring you this awesome content that we're going to all build together. So family, again, the date's November 2nd to the November 9th, 2024, the Origins of Civilization tour to Egypt. And we're going to be discovering the foundations of civilization as we move up the Nile. There's a 4-day cruise in it. And we're doing it the way we always do it, the HAPI way. Go to akhettours.com to reserve your space. Space is limited. We were in Kemet recently in February with almost about 100 people. We are not taking a group of that size in November. So if people are really interested, let's not hesitate. Let's jump on it now.
And if I may give my Cash App, it's Kaba Kamene 7.
We're going to put that up. Definitely going to put that up right now. And we're going to put that up, and we're going to put your website up once again for family to go ahead and get the book, and also to go ahead and give you some Cash App love and help you throughout your endeavors. And family, you go to the website. There's 8 books. There's a million it's an extensive amount of webinars with the brother Kaba been teaching for over 50 years, and definitely want to make sure we support this tremendous mind that we have in our midst today.
And the other thing about Minister Brown is that years ago, everything was on video cassette. Back in the 90s, there were machines that could convert video cassettes into DVDs. And that's when they started to put some of my work up on YouTube through video, through the DVDs.
Right.
And up until a few weeks ago, there are people that have come up to me and said, "Yo, man, I knew that your son was into the work that you're doing, man, but you was dropping that stuff on Ethiopia. Your son was really doing a great job." And I said, "No, that's not my son. That's me 35 years ago."
Brother Kaba, please repeat your Cash App information again.
Cash App is $ Kaba Kamene, Kaba Kamene number 7. 7.
Number.
Kaba Kamene 7.
Okay. We're about to put that up. KabaKamene.com for all the great works that this brother has done. The most recent one, it's Carbon Before Melanin. Creators on Earth. Definitely go get out your copy. That's Spirituality Before Religion. The Shabaka Stone for Children. All this great work, and we got to keep it going. Family, definitely want to get this information, especially that one for the children. Wake up those young minds, now. Again, Brother Kaba, it's been a pleasure to have you with us, and we look forward to working with you again in the future. We have some things coming up very soon, and we look to, do some things more also, in person. We love this. The virtual aspect works, but it just works so much better when we're sitting in each other's presence. So we have some things coming up soon in the world of HAPI. So family, stay tuned for that. And we just Brother Kaba to be a part of it. And we thank you so much for your time, and wish you much, much love and success in everything that you're doing.
All power to the people.
All power to the people. Peace, brother.
Peace.
So family, there you have it. Such a powerful discussion tonight with Brother Kaba Hiawatha Kamene. And we just can't wait to do some more things in the future. We have all these different things kind of going on right now. Obviously, this backed by popular demand, and that's the big thing, because I had no intentions on doing this, but so many people have been getting at us. When's the next trip? When's the next trip? When's the next trip? So here you go, family. For those people interested in it's a week. It's priced very reasonably. It's $42.99 for the double. I think $55 for a single. But you can go ahead to akhettours.com and reserve your space. Also, we have our HAPI super sale going on with all the HAPI merchandise. So important. Again, the ways you can show support by getting some of the merchandise, HAPIFILM.com. The newsletters will be kicking those out. Family, sign up, HAPIFILM.com for the newsletter. And again, HAPI is on several platforms now. Please tell your folks it's a powerful film that is the foundation. Sometimes because it's named HAPIFILM, the same as the social media handles, people get kind of confused. Oh, I've seen that they watch a HAPI Talks and think they've seen HAPIFILM because HAPIFILM is the title of the handle, but not knowing it's an actual 2 hours and 12-minute long feature length documentary. I'll give shout outs to all those who were involved in that process, because it couldn't have been done without them. My boy Robert Gay, Tahuti Films, Ak Marie, his wife, everyone, all the different scholars, Felicia, everyone that was just a part of that process of bringing HAPI to being. And just the whole conversation, the HAPI Talks originally started to essentially promote the films and the film. And now it has grown to something beyond our wildest imagination. So, yeah. Effn, you got something you want to add to this? You're muted. You got to mute yourself.
Okay, a few things. So, we want to make sure the family understands that when they're paying that price, that's like including your international flight to
all inclusive, right?
All inclusive. Everything's got to come. Yeah, you get to New York, and that's the price right there. So, family, hopefully, I see you guys. It's November, and some of you that roll with us, hey, if you can make it happen, we love to see you again. We have had such a good time, but yeah, that's a nice price. And just for the record, Kaba said it 16 times. Michelle won, okay, because she said 16, and I was counting, and now listen, Taki slipped a couple of them in there too, but his don't count. We was talking about Kaba. Kaba said it 16 times. And I know if you guys don't believe me, just rewatch the video and count for yourself. But it's 16. Yeah, and Miss Jean Smith, okay, we've been trying to get at you. Please send us an email, Jean Smith, because we try to get you to come through on this next trip. So right there. And same with my boy Lucio Come on. Some of
Oh, yeah.
y'all we need to
Oh,
see
yeah.
how.
No, definitely. Gene Smith's an email to HAPIFILM.com. And yeah, definitely. And we appreciate you. She's always, always with the Cash App love. So it definitely, it means a lot. And not even so much of the amounts, just the effort, the energy that goes behind it.
Absolutely.
So,
All the time.
Energy. It's the energy of it that really counts the most.
Yeah.
And kind of helps keeps us going and keeps, because it's this. Listen, I give all shout out. I give all I have so much tremendous love and admiration and respect for these elders who've been doing this work for a long time, because man, I tell you, in my little bit 20 some odd 30 years I've been doing this, is nothing compared to what they've been doing. They've been going and going and going and going. And I know how I feel sometimes. So I know, when you see people like that, you gotta help. And just your love and your presence helps breathe life to the workers that do the work. So we appreciate everyone, even just signing on, sharing it, liking it, everything. It just helps breathe life into it. So definitely.
Yeah, it makes us feel good. It makes us keep going.
Yeah, that's really what counts. It's like putting gas in a car. So, all right, Fee, you got anything else you want to add to this?
No.
All right, family.
I think we're good.
All right, so listen, AkhetTours.com to register for this the Origins of Civilization tour in Egypt. Very important, November 2nd to November 9th, backed by popular demand, all inclusive for those people who are really interested and want to do it. You can go check that out. HAPIFILM.com for all things Happy. The super sale is going for a while. We are literally, as we move forward, are liquidating stock to move forward in new merchandise. So things have been marked down considerably to make way for new stuff. So if you have something, you want to give something to someone else, right now is a really, really good time to take advantage of this opportunity. And that's it for me. So, definitely thank you everyone for joining tonight. And we see you guys again soon. Peace.
I don't know what we can talk about in this nation without talking about white superiority, honestly.
Who defines the meaning of God also defines the relationship between economy and God.
African Americans spent $1.3 trillion last year, making us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. Why have we not turned those riches into wealth to develop our community?